Today it is Friday. Could be Friday morning, Friday afternoon, or early Saturday, depending on where you are in the world. Just thought I'd come through. Just trying to see what's up. So let's just get into it. We're gonna talk about different things. So let's get into it. Going live today. This one is pretty much a straightforward. I'm not even gonna front the Angel Reese situation with the NBA 2K. The depiction was sad. Uh, and of course, as some of y'all know, Robert Griffin III had to retweet that picture. What's happening? My timing is perfect. Well, long time no see. How you been? Thank you for coming through. At least I know when you're on, we're gonna definitely have some questions. It's been a minute. I did hit your YouTube up. I have, when I get things, I definitely flow. So I've definitely enjoyed your channel. So thanks for coming through. Yeah, I'm just now coming on board. So freeze to hit that like button, hit the poll questions if you probably want to donate. But they won't do, by all means. And as always, I'm thankful for everybody come through. And again, everybody comes through, the more you conversate, the longer I'll be on. So if I get a good rapport, we can do an hour or more. If not, I will close the books in half because I don't want to, you know, burn juice. So we got to keep it loose. But let's see what we are. So yeah. But anyway, the Angel Reese story has definitely been a story that's been going on every single day. She's been maligned and she's having a great year. But people who are in their feelings don't want to give it up to her. James Harden. I mean, he's been to a finals. He's a league MVP. He's about to get 30,000 points. And you could pretty much say that you could kind of say if it wasn't for Steph Curry, who knows how his career would have been out. I don't want to say that though because he was kind of lazy in the postseason, but he had more, even though he was all bloated in the postseason, he's had more go upside than Carmelo. Carmelo was a better pure scorer, but Harding got the better career. So it's not that difficult for me. James Harden is going to be more closer to one of those guys that you wanted to put in the top five shooting guards or two guards than you would Melo. Melo's problem is that he didn't play in the right situations, and also his game. Had he gone somewhere where he had a hit early on in his career, maybe history looks at him differently. Maybe if he goes to Miami when the big three were there, maybe if he goes to Chicago with Derrick Rose. There was a lot of places that for a guy like him who could have cherry picked and scored and thrived, he was in New York, and he kind of and after Denver, which I still say was his best situation. It just didn't. His NBA career didn't go to where it's supposed to. Harding was in positioning for something, but and there's a difference. Melo's a better natural player, but Harding has the better career. And of course, more people are going to remember Harding because the beard was something else for a moment, and I mean, they gave him a self-anointed MVP, and he got one. He's the last American player to win MVP, but we're not going to, impact. But you would have thought coming out of college, Melo would have had the better career. And Melo probably should have gotten Rookie of the Year. I mean, but anyway, that's where we are right now. So anyway, but good question though. Keep them coming too. But anyway, yeah, Angel Reese is definitely that NBA 2K the face was embarrassing and racist and sad. And then RG3 trying to come up behind, he doesn't make matters better. So, well, you could say that, except for another thing. He still was all right in Brooklyn and all right in Philly. I know the Dan Tony argument because that's the Steve Nash argument, but ask yourself, eyeball test, who was a better player to James Harden and Steve Nash? Which might be a question I might have for a future video that I work on. You gave me because I know how important Dan Tony was, and I know about Jeremy Lin. But ask yourself who was more worthy of consideration of a better career, James Harden or Steve Nash? And I'm gonna make that into a video. Because of you, thank you, thank you. You just inspired a video, so I'm gonna work on that one. It'll be for a future episode though. It won't be because I have that. Probably try to work on that one for a month from now, but I will make that into a video. But Harding, you can't teach the Euro step. You can't teach getting those free throws, and he actually scored points. He was actually there was no question about just that Curry and LeBron were playing alongside Durant. There's no question he belonged in that argument. Whereas with Steve Nash, we never thought of him as top tier guards. That's just it just hits differently. So that's how I diffuse the D'Antoni argument there. But a good question though. That's a good question because I will address that. That's for a future one. I can appreciate you doing it, but for me, it's a no brainer because Carmelo is the what could have been, and James Harden was could have been, but he just didn't put the effort in to finish it up. James Harden has got like, how do I say this the best way? James Harden is kind of like if Peyton Manning had won the Super Bowl, that's James Harden regular season. And Carmelo Anthony is kind of like Jay Cutler. You see how different that is? Because Jay Cutler could play very good quarterback, just didn't have the to get to the next level. Harden stopped in the postseason, and again, that's like the Greg Maddox, Peyton Manning arguments before they won. I got to think of somebody who's great in the regular season. But he's on course to that. Melo is not. He doesn't. I know he's missed the Olympics. I know he's got all them gold medals and all that, but his 25,000 people were barely clapping when Harden is pushing 30. Harden is going to be the most polarizing guy to get 30,000 career points. Watch. Because that's going to almost like water it down because he'll play long enough. And there's still this sense that he might actually get a ring or come close. They still less faintness how he gets over. But is he a precursor to what Luka Doncic is? A guy who's a lot of flash in one part and then crashes in the next. But Carmelo was never that because Melo was never quite he wasn't the finisher. So Melo played his best ball in Denver and he showed out in New York, but he didn't put the two worlds together. We never got, you know. So again, that's how I have to address that. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask because I don't want to go to sleep. We got to keep the groove going. And I don't know if anybody else is gonna come in on this chat, so we gotta make sure we're doing it. I know when I do if I talk about players or people, I like to balance it where I will definitely do that video about the James Harden Nash thing. That's more compelling. Melo should have been a precursor to Kevin Durant and probably should have started off forming with teams, but he didn't do it. And that's the thing because I thought he would have been perfect for like going to a Chicago with Derrick Rose, going to a Memphis when Gasol and Zebo was there. Go somewhere where he can just score, especially in that era. But to end up stat padding and going from Portland to the Lakers and just playing for Houston and this team and that team and not even being a hired hand, just being a guy that just kind of to fill up stats and just kind of forgotten. Respected for what he could do talent wise, but not remembered for what could have been. So now, whereas James Harden to come from being a six man to a league MVP, that was impressive. But he had shortcomings. So anyway, please keep on conversating. Anyway, I just saying the Angel Reese thing is pretty extreme and it's sad. And RG3 needs to shut up. I'm like, yo, man, you need to stop trying to, uh, you know, speak on things that are just not cool. Yeah, because it is more overrated because he didn't get to what he had. He had a great situation with George Carl, and he had a situation because of an offensive force. He should be talked about with Durant. He should be. He should be talked about with Dirk. He should be. He could score. He had that box. Well, you're entitled to say how you want to say about James Harden. I'm not gonna argue about him being overrated either. But he had more out of his career than Carmelo Anthony. That's not the question about it. He trash or not. Did he get more out of his career than Carmelo? And the answer is yes. Because unless I include Carmelo Anthony's ring when he was with Syracuse, which we don't try to bring your college career into it, but James Harden won us him with a league MVP. So yeah, if you trash and you got league MVP, well, you're overrated, but you still were an impactful player. So So that's how I look at it. I don't really think there is a discussion to be had with the two guys. But I did like that mention about hard and above about the Nash and the D'Antoni thing. That's something that I will definitely explore in a video. And you basing it on what? What are you basing it on? I think you're a troll most of the time. I know you're a troll because first of all, James Harden still got to deal with the Clippers as we speak. Carmelo Anthony was trying to go pillow the post the last few years of his career. Nobody cared. So you really don't watch basketball, and you're not that bright on it if you were, because if you were, James Harden still won a couple playoff games with Kawhi Leonard. Carmelo couldn't get arrested. They gave him away for free. He was playing for scrub teams. God, I just like when people stop trolling so much because you don't even make good trolls. Your trolling argument is whack. Talent wise, yeah. But what ended up happening with their careers? No. Harden got him beat. Yeah, you need some glasses because Steve Wonder would tell you James Harden left him behind. One guy was a league MVP while the other guy was stat padding. Let that sink in, genius. So let's go back to 2018 when James Harden got the league MVP and he got amongst his peers an MVP. Okay, man, you don't have to like a cat, but don't lie. I can't stand capping. It's not even good capping. Carmelo Anthony spent the last 5, 6 years of his career riding somebody's bench to stat pad to get to 25,000 points, and he just missed passing Shaq. He was trying hard to keep stat padding, and they got tired of him. And they didn't even give him a big ovation when he got 25,000 points. Well, you acting like you're wearing his glasses. I love Stevie Wonder, but Stevie Wonder could tell you that James Harden had a better career than Carmelo. Don't get up in your feelings if you can't take it. Nobody asked you to come on here and troll, because that is a troll. Melo underachieved. Harden, you can say, did it. I mean, for real, shoot. Ask me who's more talented, I would have told you Melo. But ask me who got the most out their career is Harden. Six man, less fanfare. Shoot, he was playing with Durant and playing with Russell Westbrook, and he still came out being an MVP 5, 6 years later. Let make that make sense. When did Melo get like that? You can know him. That's fine. But Carmelo ain't seen no James Harden. That's a fact. And you can tell Steve Wonder I said so. So with Ray Charles glasses, R.I.P. And Ronnie Millsap glasses, R.I.P. Well, yeah. So please. I don't like talking about what I call frivolous arguments because that don't really even merit. That don't even merit. You could tell me who you prefer, but Harding was in. Excuse me. Harden was in. Excuse me. Pardon me. Harden was playing in Western Conference Champs, playing games against Steph Curry. What was Melo doing? Most people don't even remember the last of Melo's career. They don't. And whose fault is that? Just saying. Excuse me. Excuse me. Pardon me. I'm back. Anyway, good to see this poll is taking off. And again, feel free to talk about Angel Reese. We'll talk about that. That's unfortunate. I hope we don't spend time here trolling about, you know, if y'all got questions about some people, that's fine. But give me something to debate. See, that's where you're wrong because you don't watch my videos. So you watch my videos, you see where I am, but you don't watch. You just come to troll. I think Caitlin Clark is a good shooter in a limited game. Angel Reese got a double double coming your way. Angel Reese got a ring. I put out a video today, but you didn't watch it. So you know when you trolling, you don't watch me, you don't know me. So I don't even know why you even come to the channel because I did a video on the very topic. I've been very pro Angel Reese. Thank you. Talk about the fact that she won her ring. Talked about the fact that she buckled down, hits those boards. And I've already called out Caitlin Clark. I said it's a Taylor Swift situation. If Caitlin Clark was like Rebecca Lobo or something, I'd understand, or Paige Buckner, I might understand. But when she don't make them threes, there ain't much there, and this fanfare is limited. It's more gimmicky. I've been very pro Angel Reese. I think that she got a good chance. I'm gonna take you off. Say something stupid one more time, and I'm gonna kick you off this channel. I'm not gonna be dealing with no trolls. You want to troll? Go somewhere else. I'm not dealing with trolling. So you got one warning. That's it. You don't like what I say, you can go, but you're not gonna come here and troll. I said what I said. And for people who don't support my channel, watch the videos, I don't know why you come on here. He was what I call middle of the road, kind of like a Billy Donovan precursor. I mean, he got stuff out, but was he, he had some, he's a tier below Lawrence Frank. Feisty guard. I remember when he played. The NBA loves to get what I call third tier guys to be coaches, second low second tier, high third tier guys, point guards or players like that. He was okay, he coached up, but nondescript. You know, he was all right. I I ain't really thought about Scott Skiles. To be honest with you, I remember he tried a couple times, and I mean, compared to Steve Nash, he looks like the second coming of Jerry Sloan, if that's what you base it on. Because Nash had no business being out there. If JJ Redick ever pulls that stunt again like he did in the first round, and don't give Luke or somebody some blow, he gonna be in that pile too. So it all depends. It all depends. Yeah, whatever. You have a good one too. But I ain't really thought about his coaching though. I really ain't. I really haven't. You know. But I know the NBA has a tendency to have a certain type of coach, and they like former players, and they tend to like the third tier cats, because that's what Phil Jackson and Pat Riley were as players, and Steve Kerr. And I know it might sound kind of hard to say, but they would be third tier. I mean, they were bench cats that were off behind the bench. He was an okay coach. What part of okay am I not getting through? He was okay. Just because he got jobs don't mean he was good. No one sits around talking about, oh, we got to call Scott Skiles up. He was, did he, does Scott Skiles have a Splash Brothers type of pre situation like Mark Jackson? I don't think so. Is he, um, the late Frank Layden, who with the Utah Jazz with Carmelo and Stockton got to West to a final like deep like that? I don't think so. Was he Don Nelson worthy? I don't think so. Do you want me to go on? Because when you ask me about somebody, I got to put it in perspective. You know, Billy Cunningham and Lenny Wilkins are considered two of the 50 greatest players ever. He ain't in their conversation as former players. Better coach than Jeff Hornacek and better coach than Derek Fisher, yes. Avery Johnson had a little bit of a better career. Avery Johnson got to finals with Dallas Mavericks. I'm just saying, was he better than Mike Dunleavy Sr.? No, because Dunleavy Sr. had some success. I'm just, you want to put it like that. I mean, it depends on what we're going in with it. So, he had a fiery vibe, but he wasn't no Larry Brown. Larry Brown had, careers. I mean, so when we have these discussions about people, I just like put in perspective. That's why I'm gonna word it like as such. Anyway, feel free to hit them comments and see what we got. 50% split on Angel Reese. Interestingly, okay. Still early. Still early. I know there's some people who don't like it though. Yeah, and he got the Lakers to the finals in '91, so that's what he has going for him. And he did a pretty good coaching job. But I'm just making a point that Scott Skiles ain't in that argument. That's the point. I can name you some guys, Vinny Del Negro, who was okay, and he was just an okay player. That's where Scott Skiles is at. Even though I do know about that 30 assists with the Orlando Magic as a point guard, I did that. He had another body. He had another body moment. But no one talks about Scott Skiles. Feel free to ask some questions because I need some questions to get hit. And I don't, surprisingly, nobody's coming. Nah, people coming through today, but I understand it's the weather. It's the summertime, people out enjoying. I am going to be here today and tomorrow. Doubtful Sunday. If I do, it's up for like an hour at most. I doubt it. And then after that, not till next Wednesday. So it's gonna be a shorter week next week. So if you enjoy my live streams, come on through. If you like the reboot, I'll put them on the podcast. Feel free. And of course, I got videos galore. So, and I'm in different places. So I just. Anyway, feel free to ask if you have questions. Hopefully, we'll get some more questions today, and we'll see if more people want to come through. So far, it's pretty low key, so we are okay. I am hoping that someone will come through. It's just what do we got? What's happening? How you doing, Charlene? Good to have you today. Yes, son seems credible because Jay Z wouldn't be discussing it. If you are a multi-billionaire and you got all these others, and Lord knows Jay Z got a lot going on right now. This ain't by accident. The people that said that he was gonna be the next ain't lying because even if something don't stick with all these lawsuits and the bad money and everything coming up, you can definitely, and of course by association with the people. So the Nicki Minaj thing, the Kanye thing, the lead son, the liquor not doing well, all the people having the issue with Beyonce's album and all kinds of stuff. It's a lot going on in the Carter, so we'll see. I don't think the kids got to lie about it. Who the heck want to look like an ugly camel? Really? I know why Jay Z don't want to touch it because then it makes him. Then he has to be accountable for under, and it's that's why he don't want to touch it. I get it. And usually there is truth to these stories because I remember Magic Johnson had downplayed his son for a long time. A lot of these guys just do it. That was the PR move. That's what I'm trying to get at. And see, birds of a feather tend to flock together. So Jay Z don't want to be seen like R. Kelly, don't want to be seen like Diddy. But he ain't no different. You was running behind Aaliyah with your best friend who was your business partner, Dame Dash. So you got a lot explaining where it just looks too obvious. And they got Jay Z painted as this cosmopolitan, rebranded man, this farce that's out here, which is absurd. Well, he know good and well what went down. And then we don't even want to talk about Rihanna got over her passport and got over to the States before she was of age and she had this kind of business deal. And Foxy Brown. But we ain't gonna talk about that because that make too much sense. And that's why he doesn't want stuff to there's a bigger because if that domino effect rolls on. Interesting question. It's Yao Ming by default because Zebo's never quite had an offensive game. I like Zebo better, and Yao to me was more of a media creation. I think coming from China to find a 7 foot guy, and I thought that was like that they the powers that be from the NBA found him, and he was good, but he wasn't worth the hype. He sure as heck shouldn't have got all them All Star starting center mess. That was hilarious. You know, he never got his body to the next level. He was good. He didn't get to be great. And that's the thing. And him and Tracy McGrady didn't hit, and him and Steve Francis didn't hit. And so we never got, but he had more offensive game than Zebo. Zebo was tough, but Zebo did. And I just got through saying earlier about Carmelo. Funny you mentioned him because with him and Gasol on the box, had they had a Carmelo Anthony that year when they went to Western Conference Finals and got swept by the Spurs, I think they got a chance to get to one finals together. They were missing an offensive force. They had the defense. Like Tony Allen back then. I thought Yao was in what I called a really good to almost very good, but he wasn't great. But because of where he came from and that he actually fit, and he did pretty good. And he had a good matchup against Shaq. That was an interesting situation. couldn't do nothing with Tim Duncan though. So y'all had a nice touch, but he didn't stay healthy and he never bulked up and he never got to another level. But by default, I gotta say more with Zebo because Zebo just wasn't offense wasn't his bread and butter. And had he had a little bit more offensive game, then it wouldn't. So good question, rare question, and kind of odd because of the two parents, but good question nevertheless, though. Okay. Yeah, and I have to kind of say it like that because yeah, because I really don't put the two in the same. Yeah. I like how your mind works though, because no one else would ask me that about those two. I can appreciate it. You got to be kind of a basketball geek to think of that one, and to put in perspective, because you know. But anyway. All right, so let's see what we're working with. If we get some more action going on, I'll be on for another hour. If not, I'll cut in half. I just want to see if the conversation's going. It's gotten kind of quiet, so feel free to turn it up. If you got questions, turn it up. And again, I tell anybody who, if you watch the videos, then you'll see because some of the stuff that gets asked, I done videos for. And if I haven't, they're coming. So, and again, with the requests and everything. So feel free. All right. I'm sure he did make some contact because they got contact to get in touch with him. So obviously, if what is being said that the man's mother and them have met with the attorneys and it was kind of deterred from pursuing, obviously. I had heard this story a long time ago about in Maryland stuff with that. It's just that because of his circumstances, it would definitely be a big time blow because then that would open up the floodgates. And again, he's being very protected in the industry because again, with Foxy Brown running behind Aaliyah, running behind Beyonce, his track record, he's got a track record. So I don't understand what that means, bro. But if you gotta go, that was the norm. It still is the norm, Charlene. Ain't nothing changed. Don't let the media fool you. People still doing it. It's just that they go after who they want to go after. If you think they've changed, then I got some gold to sell in your backyard, and I don't even know where you live. Ain't nothing changed. They just going after people they want to go after. They're trying to act like that doesn't still. It still goes on. It still does. And in broad daylight, it's just that they had certain people that they wanted to peg for it. You know, with R. Kelly, that was known. That's nothing new. That was there. Diddy, it couldn't really be well because they didn't have anyone that was totally under, but they didn't really pursue. But industry shares everything. Uh, you always hear the same old stories about young kids coming to business and then how things go down. And Shirley Temple, Black, Judy Garland, all the way up to Bieber, all that ain't nothing new. It still go on. It still go on. It's just that they pick and choose who they want to make an example of. That's all it is. And when they ain't got no more use for you, then you happen to be for the, you know, there's somebody that I'm not thinking about right now. It's because Steven Tyler had access to a teenager, and ain't nobody coming after Steven Tyler. You know, so all this stuff that they're doing is selective. But because they made him into a corporate entity, see, this is the thing that if you black, you gotta be so careful how they blow you up and make you like you monumental and you're special, and then that's when they can pull the plug on you. But this is their twisted way of making it seem like you fit in and that you are anointed and all that. You never are. You got to protect yourself and be prepared. And then you got to understand you can never ever be a no man. You got to be a yes man. So that's how it go. And they do what they do. Ain't nothing new. It still goes on to this day. Again, it is about who they want to make an example of. Okay, let's get some conversation because if I don't get no feedback, I'm gonna have to like. Oh yeah, but you see, I'll tell you the story. 30 to 15, that don't get no trip. 40, 50 to 17 don't get no. I'm just telling you that what I've seen in recent memory. Oh yeah, the first one makes a lot of sense. I gave you that. That's how these young female teachers get caught up in their high school because they ain't that far removed. But yeah, I know what you mean. But hey, I'm telling you, ain't nothing changed. It's just that he's playing corporate world. He's bought and paid for. First of all, the fact that he's still trying to talk about he was a Macy project dealing, back in the day, he still you and no one's gonna buy a guy who's worth $1 billion being a hustler after he done, just not a good look. So anyway, okay, let's get some conversation going because I want to have. If anybody's out there and got anything you want to talk about, let's talk about it. Again, it ain't my thing. However, I've seen it, and I seen 50. I seen 60. So when you ask me questions, you gotta remember something. It depends on what capacity we're talking about. It happens. It happens. Hugh Hefner did it all the time. He was 60, 70, doing it all the time. Um, It's and again, sometimes if you're legal, if you're legal, if it's legal, that's the key because it has to be legal. Anybody that's running up on somebody, make sure that it's a mutual thing. That's how I'm gonna answer that in from a legal perspective, as long as it's legal. And then how people look at it from another perspective, that's on their own accord. Question should be how you feel about it because I gonna come at it from different angles. I think there was once upon a time. I say it's harder now only because of the technology aspect, because of what you got to talk about. Back in the day, life was a lot more pretty straightforward. So technology now, is different. Well, you can look at it well if they are mature, because you got some immature grown folks and you got some more mature younger folks. So it all depends on how you look at it. And the young one could be taking advantage of the older one because they look at them as a sugar daddy, sugar mama. Think about it. Cuts both ways. You know, we don't think of it like that. And you got some women who like older cats, and some dudes who like older women. So it all depends in terms of that regard. So all depends on how you look at it. It's a very complex situation. But if you're talking about from the music industry or the movie industry, that's normal. Casting couch knows no age, knows no background, really doesn't know nothing because it's an industry. That's how they've always operated. That's the only thing I'm trying to say. Depends on what capacity we're talking in. All right, let's get some conversation going today. See what we got. Okay. See if I get any more action. If not, I'm gonna have to close it down. It's getting quiet again. Again, I'll be on tomorrow. It's not going to stop. Cat Williams had talked about it's not going to stop because the industry is trying to unload a lot of people, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on that's just coming to the foyer. But there's still people doing everything. Don't get it twisted. It just looks like they're going after black folk, and they over a certain age in a certain place. That's what's up. They're really trying to rid themselves of a certain, and that's the demographic that's getting hit the worst. So when you deal with R. Kelly, you deal with Puffy, you got Suge, you got Jay Z, you got Tyler Perry. These things ain't by accident, and others. The truth is, they could pretty much wipe up half of Hollywood in one night, and then knock out about 90% the next. 'Cause you ain't got about a small percentage that don't have Jack on them. Well, again, they're just tired of dealing with them. That's all that comes down to. There's nothing new under the sun. People who don't who think the industry has got some, they obviously are picking who they want to go after. So if I'm not on the picture, it's because I'm trying to promote my live. So that's where we are. So we got. Mhm. Okay, I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes because I'm not really. It's pretty quiet today. The thing done gotten kind of stagnant. Of course they are. Of course, but no one's gonna go after it because again, it's kind of like a double situation. It's like if we tell the truth. Mariah, let me break them individually down. If Mariah Carey was to tell the actual truth, you thought they made her look like she was crazy with the ice cream truck backing on at the on TRL. She would have been white ball, and there would have been no come we belong together. She could never tell the whole truth. That's why she got that corny song out now. It's a shame when I see Type Dangerous. Mary J ain't got no money. She's being pimped and hustled. She can never tell the truth. There's a picture of her holding both Cassie and Puffy's hand, and you mean tell me she ain't a witness for the government? Yeah, right. And Faith was the first lady married to Biggie. They don't want to solve nothing. Faith just got hit with a lawsuit because they just got a royalty check, and she didn't pay Biggie's mama's estate. So she's running game. And of course, Beyonce, the cheesecake with Diddy, knows about R. Kelly, knows about Jay Z, know about all that. Got pimped and sold allegedly from her dad was pimping to Jay Z. So of course it's all tied together. If you saw Jaguar Wright, even though I don't agree with everything Jaguar Wright said, you ask anybody, all four of them would be. They're not guilty of the racket, but they are accessories though. All of them are accessories because all four of them have association with Diddy business. Thank you. They all know. y'all know what really happened with Aaliyah too. Mhm. So I'm not trying to, that business. You gotta remember, Black Hollywood ain't but so big. If Hollywood ain't so big, Black Hollywood's even smaller. So we can play deep and dumb like we don't know and dump down and don't know what's up. We know what's up. So that's the game they like to play. That's why they fake. They know. I can see it. All of them. Jennifer Lopez too. She might be guilty of all of it because she was with Diddy, and she know good and well what what's did that bid 25 years ago. She know good and well kept her behind from being locked up. So I'm not trying to even hear all that. Mm-mm. All right, so let's get some questions coming. Cause if not, I'll be out of here in about 10 minutes. I'm gonna be out here, and I'll probably have to cut it short. Like I said, I will be on tomorrow. I understand the weather's good and people don't be on a hot computer or their phones. I get it. No, that's just an internet rumor. But Michael was protective of Kadia, though. That was just a rumor. And ain't nobody gonna really tell that story no way. Not with you trying to present Tupac as a tough guy. You sure as heck ain't gonna present that story. Yeah, Shine is the one that Jennifer Lopez they did it he had to do that bid. He did a bid for both of them. So yeah, Jennifer Lopez belong in that pile on. She been guilty more than all of them. But now, if Michael had done that to Tupac, believe me, that would have been front page. And they got an image to sell. But a lot of people forget Michael was from Gary, Indiana, so he wasn't no chump. And he had five older brothers, so it's not like he was just going. Okay, I'll give it a couple more minutes. And some days, I'm glad they had people that came through, but it didn't really get the buzz today. A little bit more yesterday, and definitely 2 days ago. Definitely. Okay. Okay. Try to get something going, but didn't quite get it today though. It's time to be that way. All right. I think I'm gonna call it a day with this though. back maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow should be hopefully better. People get the notifications. Hopefully, we'll see what comes tomorrow. But anyway, thanks to everybody that came through today. And I will definitely try to come back tomorrow. Peace and the best. I'm out. One time. Thanks again.